I can't believe the time has come. It's the final episode of Slicing the Pie. It feels like it's been quite the journey, and I'm so happy you all followed me through every step of the way, as I learned, alongside you, all about the underrepresented shards and wedges of Magic the Gathering. These moments are always bittersweet, but I think we couldn't have gone out on a better wedge than Temur. It's the wedge that has the passion and curiosity to meet its destiny head on. Now, before we get into it, I just wanted to share with you all the launch of my Patreon. I have such a passionate fan base, and that alone is my favorite part of making these videos for you all. But if you're looking to gain more from me and help support the channel, then Patreon is the place to go. I'll have more information at the end of the video, so let's not waste any more time. Sit down, get comfortable, and let's talk Temur, the wedge that sits at the right hand of Mother Nature herself. I look at color philosophy as sort of a challenge to overcome, a way of peering through the fundamental building blocks of the game we love in order to learn something about ourselves. But every challenge has its obstacles. In the case of shards and wedges, it's the fact that we lack a lot of the robust examples in the game that pairs and monocolors have. Because of this, we'll have to set up a framework to build our philosophies off of. Now, don't worry, I know this is the 10th episode and a lot of you are returning fans, so I'll get right into it. The first building block of the framework is the allied pair within the wedge. In the case of Temur, this is red and green. The reason why this is important is because the allied pair is a grouping of two colors that already see the world in a similar way, and so they will be more than likely to find common ground. Of course, their shared enemy, blue, will still influence the wedge, but it'll be just that, an influence. So then, what does green and red, when combined, believe in? And how does this apply to Temur? Well, green-red is the pair who seeks the freedom to be its authentic self. It never stops to think about its actions, as it merely is acting upon its impulses and instincts, breaking life down to its most primal version. It believes its life is no accident, and because of this, following one's own heart is following one's own destiny. So, what does this tell us about Temur? Well, simply put, Temur follows its heart, its passions, and when it doubts itself or the meaning of things, it looks to nature as a sort of guide. For the originator of all life is the one with all the answers we need. With that covered, it's still important to talk about the enemy color within Temur, as even though I stated that it was an outsider, this does not mean its influence cannot be felt. In the case of Temur, the enemy color is blue. So what does blue believe in, and what does it add to the pair we already discussed? Blue is the color of intellect, curiosity, and an endless desire to iterate and improve. It is always looking to the future, to what can be discovered and mastered. Now, obviously this amount of thoughtfulness goes against red-green, but it's not this side that really gets added to Temur. When combined with red-green, blue adds more of a sense of wonder and curiosity, a need to know. What exactly do I mean? Well, it's blue's curiosity and mastery where green and red can both find a level of appreciation, and so you see these ideals seep into Temur's philosophy. Alright, construction, so to speak, is nearly complete, and Temur is beginning to take shape. But we're not done yet. To finish off our framework, we still have one more step, and that is the two colors that are missing. Yes, it does sound weird, but what is not present in a wedge or shard is actually quite important, as knowing what something cannot be or won't be tells us a lot about a combination. In the case of Temur, the missing colors are white and black. So let's start with white. White is a combination of community, order, and of selflessness. With a lack of white mana present, we know that Temur accepts the fate that nature hands out. There will always be a predator and a prey. It also tells us that Temur does not obey the laws of man, as those are constructs used to control, and freedom is key. Next, we have black. Black is the color that is primarily concerned with self, of its power, and the ability to act out its own will. With a lack of black mana, we know that Temur is not concerned with the grabbing and holding of power, and is able to look past itself, and in turn, views the bigger picture as more important than even its own existence. And there it is, the framework for Temur. With this at our disposal, we will be able to come up with our own philosophies. Of course, I will present 3 to you in this video, but remember that color philosophy is malleable. There's always more to discuss and discover. So if you have any ideas about Temur, then please be sure to share them. I do love reading over how each person views the colors of magic. Alright, let's dive into the first philosophy, and that is Mother Nature's right hand. At the core of any philosophy, there lies a view of its physical surroundings, and how it affects and is affected by it. In the case of Esper, it was society. In Sultai, it was life and death. And in the case of Temur, it is Mother Nature herself. The goddess of origination, of no form and all forms, of all that was and is, of the very earth we can thank for our existence. Temur, being a color that, on a basic level, represents each of her core elements, has a unique perspective as to the power and beauty that is the plane we all call home. It's the erupting mountains of red, which breed new lands and remove the old. It's in blue's oceans and skies, which breathe life into our mortal bodies. And it's green's vast forests and beasts where we make our homes and feed our families. Temur has a perspective that no other wedge or shard can mimic. It's a close tie to the ancient wonders of our mortal plane. Where some look past this life to what lies beyond, Temur has its feet firmly planted on their plane soil. It understands completely the unbiased hand of Mother Nature, and in fact, it is a willing participant in all that she gives and takes away. Temur looks at her for answers, and heeds the ones it is given. There is no give and take, there is only fear and respect, and in this position, a wonder at her majesty. In blue, there is that sense of true understanding, and wonder of what makes up all life. In red, there is a joy at moving alongside the controlled chaos of nature. And in green, there is the acceptance and harmony found in knowing one's own place. Because of this ideal, Temur is the wedge that acts on her behalf. It does not sit by when others look to pervert her, nor does it question her actions. If an earthquake destroys what you have built, it is because she did not want it to exist there. If a fire clears a forest, it is because she wishes to grow something new. And if the winds thrash your crops, it's because she wishes to carry your seeds somewhere else. Do not stand stiff in the wind, for you will be blown over. Flow with her movements, and you will come to understand what she needs of you. This is normally where I bring up an MTG quote, but in this case, we'll look to a quote from the late Bruce Lee.
This is what it is, okay? I said, empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow, or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
This, of course, is a very physical manifestation of Temur beliefs, and gives you a good idea of what lies at the core of this philosophy. Wonder, understanding, passion, and an acceptance of what is and what will be. It's the kind of thing that comes along with the colors we have at our disposal. But let's now move on to something that takes a closer look at self and how one would seek its place in a tenet I call purpose in curiosity. Talking about the Temur mindset in broad strokes is all well and good, but I think it is important to dive into the why of Temur. How does this mind work, and how is it applied? Well, Temur has a big picture mindset, all while staying low to the ground. It wishes to understand its purpose while still flowing along with whatever comes next. In a lot of ways, it's laid back and open to change, all while looking for the understanding that pieces everything together. Temur can find joy just as much in a blade of grass as in the eruption of a volcano. If everything that Mother Nature provides is a gift, then every day holds within it the potential for discovery and adventure. In green, Temur finds harmony with all things, and the tools to understand its place. In red, there lies the joy and passion that gives it purpose. And in blue, there is the curiosity and the need to understand, even if that understanding leads to a place of tranquility. Temur might be the wedge to experiment with Mother Nature's gifts in order to gain that connection and understanding. Nature already provides us with the means to do so. If you pick the right mushroom, you can feel her breath. If you smoke the right herb, you can find tranquility in her hands. Temur is always looking to learn more about how to fit into such a vast and seemingly perfect ecosystem, all while still enjoying the experience for its own sake. We see this need to experiment and understand within the combination of red-blue all too well. It's just instead of using science to fill that need, it looks to the trees, to the vast mountains, and to the sky. Within this mindset, Temur can find itself lost in thought and action. But if everything around you is your home, are you ever really lost? This idea is a lot of fun, and honestly, I think we could all use this sort of vast introspection and acceptance at least once in a while in our life, as the ever-enclosing cities around us have removed some of that need, a need our ancestors knew all too well. Perhaps through ritual and experimentation, we might gain a deeper understanding of Mother Nature, and in turn, our own existence. Alright, let's cover one more philosophy before we close this one out, and that is freedom in experience. Temur is one of those combinations that appreciates freedom in any form. And that's not really a surprise, with red and green at its core. It wants to live outside of man's law and experience its life the way it was meant to, in the wild. But what does blue have to say about this? Well, simply put, blue is more than fine with this, as long as there's a driving purpose. So what is the purpose found in freedom among nature? Well, simply put, it takes skill and experience to live in the wild, skills that must be mastered. This version of Temur will often find itself alone, a hermit, where it is free to act as it sees fit, and to take nature's examples as the only true law, a law that is loose and open to interpretation, and one that does not limit one's actions. Think of it more as a guide. This hermit version of Temur will often find itself as a druid, a hunter, or a sage. It lives out in the wild, honing its craft and steering clear of any human influence, becoming more of a beast among beasts than a human trying to carve out a home. In green, we see the need to act as a piece of nature's puzzle. In red, there is the desire to experience unobstructed freedom of action. And in blue, we receive the mastery of a craft which will facilitate this freedom. Imagine this, a hunter, draped in skins of their kills, face grizzled with age, speaking a language not quite human or beast, and with the ability to become a part of the landscape it finds itself within. A long time ago, this was humanity's default, but through incremental conveniences and a reliance on one another, this version has been stripped away. This is not to say this person does not exist anymore, but as time goes, they become ever rarer. An ideal society to Temur would be one where humanity sheds its cities in favor of huts and caves. A society where people rely only on nature and the skills acquired through time spent honing your craft within nature. This, of course, is a very antisocial mindset, but Temur claims that our modern conveniences are what will be our eventual extinction. If we continue to build our cities and strip away Mother Nature's gifts, then we deserve our fate. For long after we cease to be, she will continue to exist, and hopefully the next life form to spring up appreciates what they've been given. Temur is the wedge that finds purpose and understanding through its closeness with Mother Nature. It understands its place within the plane it calls home, and allows nature to work her magic, for nature will act as it wishes whether we stand against it or not. It is then important to look to her with fear and respect, and in doing so, gain insight that others may miss. The answers won't come easy though, and it's up to us, not nature, to find our way. This may require us to experiment, using her tools to grasp at the deeper concepts of our existence, while being sure to take in the joy and wonder of it all every step of the way. If this way of thinking pulls you further from your humanity, then so be it. For humans have become a curse upon the Creator, and she will exist long after we are gone, so it's best to walk alongside her than to stand against her. For it is through Mother Nature that we may know true freedom, and anyone who does not see this has blinded themselves by their own hand. Wow, I can't believe it's over. 10 episodes. It feels like it's been quite the journey, and in some ways I'm sad to see it go, but don't worry. Like I always say, there's always more to discuss and discover when it comes to color philosophy. Now, like I said at the top, I finally got and set up a Patreon, and I want to give a special shout out to my very first patrons, Gamb and Danielle. Thank you so much for believing in this channel and investing in its success. If you'd like to become a Patreon, then check out the link below in the description or just search up DiceTry. Patrons will gain behind the scenes videos that you won't get anywhere else, a monthly story reading, a shout out in my videos, and at the highest tier, I'll make a short video on whatever subject you've been dying for me to cover. So be sure to check that out. Thanks again for all of the support in whatever form it takes. I really do appreciate all of you. Stay safe out there. With that, I'll catch you in the multiverse. Bye.